Hi everyone, Professor Peter Nash reporting for Room Now from ACR Convergence in Chicago in the US. And I thought we would summarise a dozen abstracts, and the numbers will be given to you, that are looking at CAR T therapy, the flavour of the month here for autoimmune rheumatic diseases. There was a lovely presentation by Anka Akinazi who summarised the information we have today. She talked about 16 studies of CAR T therapy, up to 145 lupus patients, but also patients with myositis, scleroderma, and a number of other autoimmune diseases, IG4 disease, for example. And these patients, the targets have been CD19, which takes out the plasmablast, which makes lots of the autoantibodies we're interested in. Double-stranded DNA, SSA, Jo1. Also targets like BCMA, which takes out the plasma cell. Now that's where SCL70 comes from, but unfortunately if you take out the plasma cell, the downside is infection, and that's something that has to be considered. 12 of them were autologous, where there's expansion of these T cells externally, the CAR Ts externally, and then put into the patient. 4 of them are allogenic, which is much more convenient because it's an off-the-shelf product with a fast turnaround. There's a number now looking at in vivo expansion rather than expansion in the laboratory. The efficacy has been quite amazing. 70% of these patients are in DORIS remission, which is quite hard to get. 89% in LL-DAS, which is also hard to get. 84% in drug-free remission. Now the downside of safety, 56% of these patients have CRS, but it's been relatively easily managed with paracetamol and subsequently tocilizumab. Only 1 has been grade 3, none have been grade 4, compared to the oncology experience. 4 patients have had ICANS, 1 grade 3 and 1 grade 4. It's a neurotoxicity. 11 out of 145 have had severe infections, and there's been 1 death from pneumococcal meningitis. There has been no deaths as far as known from other issues, and there's been 1 successful pregnancy. There's been a couple of recurrences that have allowed retreatment. So there's a number of long-term follow-ups with drug-free remission out to 4 to 5 years now in significant numbers of people. If you want, there's a very nice review in July's edition of Seminars Arthritis and Rheumatism 2025 by Nordman, and that summarises the experience to date with CAR T. So what are the problems and the take-home messages from my point of view? If you're going to have CAR T, you need to set up a centre of excellence model where you can go to an academic centre or a private centre, it doesn't matter, but you need collaboration between Rheum, Hem-Onc, Nephrology, who have stolen all our lupus patients, and the infectious diseases group, who are set up to do this kind of treatment and there are a number of issues. One is finding the appropriate patient. As I said, the nephrologists have stolen our lupus nephritis. We only see these patients when they have extra renal issues they want sorted out. Number 2 is the question of lymphodepletion. Lymphodepletion means 8 days in hospital, and we all know how difficult it is to get public beds, and they would have to pay for private beds, and they're neutropenic, so they need Hem-Onc to collaborate and look after these patients for those 8 days. Then you need access to filgrastim, you need access to tocilizumab, neither on simple, easy label for these kinds of things. And so there's a number of practical feasibility issues for the average rheumatologist to do this kind of involved treatment. So cost is the next issue. I'm sure it'll come down over time. The oncologists are used to using it for lymphoma and myeloma, and I think those kinds of costs can will come down, but they're very country dependent. In some countries, €500,000 in Germany. In America, very expensive. In Oz, we can do it much cheaper. QIMR quoted something like $40,000 to develop the CAR T, but they still weren't able to collaborate and do it for us. So there are a number of issues. Excellent efficacy. If it's your daughter with lupus nephritis and bad prognostic features, and your option is a life of low-dose prednisone, mycophenolate, hydroxychloroquine, belimumab, in and out of hospital, issues of pregnancy and fertility, or a therapy with upsides and downsides that are manageable, 4 to 5 years of drug-free remission, I think it can be an easy sell. So complicated, I suspect it needs a excellent center of excellence model. Appropriate patients will be the ones that will be the trick. And now with T-cell engagers coming along, which we'll discuss another time, there might be a more feasible alternative that the rheumatologist could do in his own office compared to what's involved with CAR T therapy. So I hope you found this discussion of interest, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you.